Hello, this is Roland. Today I want to talk about courage. This is a new video lecture in my Starting Over series. Starting again, starting anew, starting afresh. It really is possible, you know, because we've all made mistakes. We all went the wrong way. We listened to other people. We didn't listen to what we knew in our heart. We became angry. We resented often our dad and our mom. And then we were seduced by the world. We thought that popularity and being cool and having nice things and money, and we thought all of that would bring happiness. And so we threw ourselves into it. We totally threw ourselves into it. Although some of us kind of knew that it wasn't going to be the answer. But we didn't know what to do. Of course, when you were a little kid, you heard your parents say, you know, maybe talk about philosophy or about religion. Maybe you went to church. You know, you heard some things about religion and about God and about Jesus, but you weren't sure. You just weren't sure. You didn't know for sure. Or they weren't the people who talked about such things weren't really credible. They seemed phony or shallow. Or you just weren't that interested in it. You were interested in a lot of other things. Years went by, and then life wasn't working out. So then, as life is not working out, you begin to say, well, let's try to see if I can restore order in my life and start afresh. Now, a lot of people try to start afresh. You know, they go to rehab, or a lot of times it's when you hit rock bottom. When you hit rock bottom. You know, when you're laying in the gutter. And finally, when you, instead of blaming other people, and looking for some excuse, and you can't deny the truth anymore, finally you say, what am I doing here? How am I messing up? How am I missing the boat? And when you're sincere about those kind of questions, then you're ready for a real change. Now, a lot of people go into rehab over and over. They get on the wagon over and over. Then they go back to their drugs, to their gambling, to their alcohol, to their philandering, to their workaholism. They go back again, see? Or because they had a wake-up call. They were in the gutter, or they had a heart attack, or got some life-threatening disease, or something really bad happened. It was a wake-up call. But then a lot of people, they do change for a while, but then they go back. But some people don't. Some people, it's a wake-up call that sets them straight. It's like a bucket of ice water thrown in your face. You know what I mean? You kind of wake up. Well, then you're ready to start afresh. That's what this series is all about. And this time, you want to do it right. So fortunately, you have someone like me who can give you a little bit of guidance, a little bit of tutoring to get you started. And hopefully to help you reconnect with your own inner ground of good. See, you have a ground of being. See, you have a center, a ground of being, from which is a source of wisdom, of understanding, of patience, of love, of courage, of all the beautiful virtues. It's a source of it. And when you are close to that, and you live close to it, then those things begin to flow through you, and to change you, and to change your life, as the inner light flows through you. See what I mean? Before you blocked it, because it felt like conscience. Before, when you weren't living right, and you weren't ready to admit your error, you denied your conscience. See, you ran from it because it didn't make you feel good. It made you feel bad, and you didn't want to feel bad. But now you're older and wiser, and you had your wake-up call, so now you're ready to try to live right. Well, fortunately, you have the benefit of the meditation that I have made. Very simple. I've made several of them. They're all good. But I'm talking a lot about my easy meditation or free meditation. Now I call it the free meditation, because it's so simple and it's free, because it'll get you started. That's what you need to get started. To refine your intuition, refine what you know in your heart, refine that ground of good within. See, animals don't have that. Animals have instinct. That's all they need. See, but humans need something more. We can't, it says in the Bible, man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. Remember it says that? Well, you need something more than instinct. And you need something more than just food. See, you need something from God to guide you. See, to guide you properly. Something like a good father. See, if your father had been there, some fathers are halfway decent. They do the best they can, but there's still something missing. But if he had really been there, if he had had that inner ground, that bond with the inner ground himself, see, then what would have come through him would have been from God. And he could have tutored you in such things and guided you. See, guided you to get you to the point that you are independent, and then you are free to choose for yourself which way, see, to go. You can continue living the right, or you can rebel and live wrongly. But if your father was good, then there would be nothing to rebel against. If he didn't pressure you, if he wasn't a hypocrite, if he gently introduced you to principles, see, he may have done some of that. See, a lot of fathers, they do some of that. Okay? So now just remember, don't resent your father. If he was a good father, then appreciate that. Okay? If he wasn't so good, then don't resent him. Then you'll be okay. Okay? Now let's talk about courage. That's what I want to talk about today. Over the past, years now, especially the last couple of years, I've talked a lot about stress. I've talked a lot about intuition. And I've talked a lot about patience and finding out what love really is, okay? And I have a lot of books on the subject, a lot of videos on the subject. And I've talked about spiritual things like God. See, how to find him, and so on. And about prayer, living the meditative life. Praying unceasingly, as Paul said. I talked about all those things, but I haven't talked so much about courage. But I see now that it's time. It's time to talk about courage, because that's what you need. See, you're going to need a lot of courage in the coming days, weeks, months. You're going to need a lot of courage. Okay? So let's talk about that. Now, courage is what? It's being grounded. It's knowing what is right, or what is true, or what is fair, what is just. Knowing that, and knowing it deeply, see, without wavering. See, you simply see what is right, or what is true, what is fair, what is just. You see it clearly, unemotionally. You just see it, and you see it so clearly that that's the only, see, that cooperating with that good, or that rightness, or that justice, see, that's the only way to go. Okay? Wavering, vacillating, hesitating. See, what is it? What's the old expression? He who hesitates is lost. Have you heard that expression? So we all know that we need courage, and we admire people that have courage. We admire people who are calm under fire. Okay? But when the going gets tough, when things are rough, some people become more calm. See, They become calmer. And that's the way you need to be. And you can be. Now, some of you have not been. Why? Because you've been a people pleaser. That's right. See, it's because you became externalized. You fell away from your inner ground through resenting people. And then after resenting, you felt empty. See, if you resent your dad, especially, your mom, your brother, resent anyone, but especially your dad, but any kind of resentment makes you feel empty. Why? Because resentment cuts you off from that inner fount that I talked about, that inner source, your ground of being. You became separated from it. See? And then when you were separated from that, you felt empty. Because love, fulfillment, approval, joy, all these wonderful things would come from within. But you were separated from it, so you felt empty. So in your emptiness, it made you want fulfillment even more, want to love me even more. So you reached out to the world. Instead of reaching within, you reached out. See, it was the outside that tripped you up. It's like jujitsu. See? And someone trips you, and then you reach and try to hold on to the person who tripped you so you don't fall, and then he throws you down even harder. That's what happened to you. You fell, most likely through resentment, becoming angry. See, someone teased you or upset you, or you tried to be good and then they laughed at you. Or you tried to be good and then found out that the people you were trying to be good for, your mom or dad or teacher or something, they betrayed you. You found out they were not really good themselves. They were just pretending, and so you resented them. And you doubted. See, when you resented, you also doubted what you knew in your heart. And you began to think, well, it's just all a bunch of crap, all this stuff about being good and nice and everything. But so you reached out to the world. And then, of course, especially what? To your peers, for approval from others and reassurance from others. Then you became dependent on that and became totally externalized. So then you don't have an inner ground. See? So you have no courage. You don't have courage unless you have all these other people there. And you have to go along with them. See? But that's not real courage. See how that works? So if you want to refine courage, then you have to refine your inner ground and get in touch with it and stay in touch with it and don't doubt it anymore. Okay? And begin to wean yourself from from being excessively involved in the outside, from looking to people for love, looking to people for approval. See? But what happens then is you become a people pleaser, right? Or a doormat. People pleaser, Mr. Nice Guy or Mr. Nice Lady, see, trying to, yes, to please other people. That's the way you became. See, it happens to just about everyone. But what happened then? You lost respect. See, they didn't respect you. Okay? And by doing that, you continued to lose even more your connection with the inner, from which would come your strength, your courage. See? So you see how courage and faith are closely related. So you need to refine your inner ground and then cling to it and no longer doubt it. Then you must also see that that those eternal verities, okay, what you know in your heart, you see how that is true. See? What you know in your heart is the truth. And then you don't doubt it anymore. You cling to it. Okay? And then you'll be able to go out into the world with that. See, you'll be more your own person, less of a people pleaser. You begin to wean yourself from that. And you begin to be able to speak up for yourself a little bit. See? That'll be very nice. So I'm going to stop at this point, because how to speak up for yourself and how to win an argument in a good way, and these type of things need to be talked about more than I can talk about in this short video here. So I've got you started here on the topic of courage, and I'll continue with this in my next lecture.